Design the best network of railways and highways in railroad tiles. Thank you for joining us at Tantrum House Studio D. I'm Melissa Delp.
And I'm Kevin Delp. Today we're looking at railroad tiles. It's a tile drafting and laying game that takes about 30 minutes to play, and it's for 1 to 4 players. With the collector's edition or an expansion, it can go up to 5 players.
It's a standalone sequel to Railroad Inc. It's by the same designers and publisher, Horrible Guild. The publisher sent us this copy to review.
Now in this video, we're going to give a quick overview of the game and then discuss our opinions. In Railroad Tiles, each player is creating their own network of roads and railways from the tiles they select.
The game is played over 8 rounds. In each round, players will take turns selecting one column of tiles. Turn order for the next round will be based on the columns selected from left to right.
When placing tiles in your network, the sides have to match. Railroad to railroad, highway to highway, and empty to empty.
After everyone has selected their tiles and placed them in their network, players can add tokens based on the symbols in the active area. For each symbol, you can add one matching token, a car, train, or traveler, to an open pinpoint in your grid of tiles.
You score points for the placed tokens and reset the board for the next round. You leave the leftover column of tiles and add a star to it. You can spend stars to place a different type of token than the ones showing in the active area.
After 8 rounds, you score endgame points. Each group of 3 or more blue town tiles is worth 5 points. Your largest rectangle of tiles is worth 1 point per tile, and you lose points for each open railroad or highway.
If you play with the optional objective tiles, you'll score each of those as well. The filled objectives are worth 5 points each.
So no surprise, the player with the most points wins.
Now that was a quick overview. We're going to separate the rest of the video into our 5 C's, our thoughts about the components, our critiques, our commendations, comparisons of the expansions, and finally, our conclusions. Let's start with the components. So there's wooden components for the player tokens, the stars, and sort of those 3 things, the trains, the cars, and the people.
Most of the other components are going to be cardboard. The tiles, the point tokens, the little clock tokens that do your timing of the rounds and also tell you which of those, they're not really meeples, wooden tokens to put out.
And then if you have the collector's edition, it has all the expansions in there, and you have different bags for, well, you put stuff in the different bags. It doesn't come pre-sorted.
Right.
But you have the different bags, which is nice. They're different colors, which you can put the different expansions stuff in those.
So the main difference between the retail version and the collector's version, besides the expansions obviously, is that the collector's version does have some screen printing on the trains, the cars, and the travelers. So they're a little
upgraded,
I guess would be the term.
All right, let's move to our critiques.
My first critique is the point tokens, the denominations they're in. You have 1, 3, 10, and 20.
Yep.
Now, during the game, you're usually scoring 1, 3, maybe 5 here and there. But at endgame scoring, a lot of the points are in 5 increments. It's 5 points for this. So not having a 5 was kind of odd. Now, I guess people may just do endgame scoring, writing it down. But if you did want to use the scoring, the point tokens, because they're in there, it felt like there probably wasn't enough of the higher, the 20s. It would be nice to have some 50s, and 5s would have been really good.
Some 5s and 50s, and you take care of it all.
Some 5s and 50s. Although I guess, especially if you're playing with a lot of people, maybe you'll just write down the end-game scoring instead of using the tokens.
It's nice to have the tokens, especially when you're doing the scoring, like at the end of the game. You're, instead of having to write everything down, you're just like, okay, give me 5 for that, give me 5 for that. So, one of my critiques It has to do with the gameplay, sort of. So the base game, you are one of the big scoring aspects is creating sort of a square or a
rectangle.
Rectangle. You're counting up a complete rectangle, a row and column, and then you're basically getting points for all the tiles that are in that completed rectangle. You can have tiles outside of that, but you're only scoring for that. And then you're also scoring in the base game for the city tiles. I believe I checked all the expansions. I'm pretty sure all of them include those two things. And I just wish that there was maybe 1 or 2 expansions that just basically did away with that. And I think it could just enhance the gameplay just a little bit more instead of being restricted to that sort of grid-like pattern. And make you do something, I don't know, just different for the expansion. So, yeah.
So
I'm okay with maybe the cities because they're cities. But, like, I could just think of an expansion that has, I mean, there's so many. There's like 8 or 9 different expansions. Why not do one that it's not a rectangle?
Okay. Yeah, I would say, kind of jumping off of that a little bit, I find the base game, especially if you're not using the objective tiles, to be a little too simplistic for me. Not enough going on. So I would probably always choose to play with the objective tiles, even if all I have is the base retail. Because I want that slightly extra layer of puzzliness and kind of thinking through.
It's not too bad. The objective tile is not, they come out during the game based on the little tiles that come out. So it seems like the objective tiles are an easy way to, an easy thing to add in.
Right, yeah. So if you do play it without the objective tiles because they kind of suggest that the first time and you think it's way too simplistic, try those in and see if it gets it to the right level.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move to our commendations. So my first commendation actually is a counterbalance to your critique.
Okay.
I kind of like that there is this game that's maybe a little simple in what you're getting, but it's easy to understand, it's easy to pick up, it's easy to play. So I think that's where my commendation is. Even though it may be a little simple in the gameplay, I kind of like it. It's not, you're not going into this heavy game. You're like, oh, I can pick that up and play it pretty quickly. I know it says like 45 minutes in the box, but 2-3 players, you can play it even faster than that. And one of the things I do like about this tile laying game is the drafting component of the game. I think that's fun. It's like, oh, okay, there's 3-4 different rows that are columns that you're choosing from. It's like, oh, I just hope most doesn't choose that one.
The one tile I need is right there.
Right, the one tile to help complete your things, and there's a little bit of tension in there, so it does have that interaction. Even though you are building your own city, there is that interaction with the drafting, which I appreciate.
Okay. I like how the expansions, if you play with them, are integrated into the game. Now, you can only play with one expansion at a time, but it gives you
But if you're Will, you probably can put more in.
If you're Will and you're breaking the rules, it would be chaos. We'll get to our comparisons of expansions. There is one that breaks the rule of playing
That's great.
only one at a time. But basically, there is the expansion tiles stay in their own bag and the regular tiles have their own bag. So you're not mixing them, which I think is good. And then there's a pattern that you put out a certain number of core game tiles and a certain number of the expansion tiles. So you know that each column is going to have at least one expansion tile in it. So I think that's a good way to mix those things to make sure it's not like if they were all in the same bag, you could get there are no expansion tiles or all of them are expansion tiles on the board this round. So the way the scoring works for the different expansions, that helps make the gameplay smoother.
Cool. One more combination I like. The screen printed for the collector's edition. You have a lot of the wooden sort of meeple characters or things are screen printed. It just adds a little bit of upgrade to what you're playing with. So, we were the little people, the trains, or all the things. Just like it looks cool in your city. So.
Okay, and I think they're cool even in the regular edition.
Sure,
they are shaped.
They're shaped wooden, but the screen print I just think bumps it up a little bit.
And I do believe all of the expansions, theirs will be screen printed. So if you get a 1 or 2 expansions, those
if you don't have the
pieces.
collectors and you just have the base retail and you get a couple expansions, I think it's going to have the retail or the screen printed on them.
My last commendation kind of is in line, I think, with what you were saying at the beginning of this section, that the game is a nice kind of weight and time length for when you don't have a lot of time and want to fit in a quick-ish game. We're talking 30, maybe 45 minutes. And if you want something more on that lighter weight, so it's not going to burn your brain, it doesn't have a huge amount of pieces and setup and rules overhead. So when you want something a little bit more casual and quick, it's good to fit into that slot. Or if you want to play it a couple times in a row and maybe put in some different expansions or switch out objective tiles, because it's so quick, I think you could do that.
Easily done. Well, let's move to our comparisons. So the first comparison, the collector's edition has it all. You can buy this and you get all the expansions. But if you want to start, if you're like, do I want it all?
Right.
You can be like, I just want to buy the retail version, and then you can purchase a few of the expansions, the ones that you like. So what are some of the expansions that are out there?
Well, first off, all of the expansions add some more of the objective tiles that are specific to things in that expansion. So you'll be getting some more objectives that you can use when you play with that expansion. I would say they all add at least some complexity to the game with more pieces and rules. The forest one, I would say, is probably the simplest, easiest to add in. It's basically just adding towers, which is another scoring thing. So if you don't really want to jump in complexity, the forest might be the one to go with. If you love cute little animal meeples, then you might want to check out Countryside. So the tiles are going to have barns and pasture area that you're creating, and you're basically trying to get the same type of animal into the same pasture. And it's a little more difficult than it sounds to try to get everything to line up, but you end up with these little farm areas with animal meeples in them.
Cool. Some of them are actually some of the expansions are sort of similar, but just with different themes. For example, like the energy, the canals, the deserts, the lakes, they all there's a lot of things that go in each of them, but some of the similarities are they all add different routes that you are creating in the game. So it might seem a little similar, although each of those brings a little bit of nuance to what you're doing in the game with the energy and the...
Of those 4, I think the desert is probably the most complex. Because not only is it adding desert trails and camels, but I believe the tiles have different landmarks on them, like pyramids and things like that, and there's a scoring aspect for getting those landmarks connected to other things as well. So a few more layers in the desert. And
the world one has a lot of objectives, right?
Right. So the world expansion is the outlier, the one that can be added into other expansions, because it is adding 10 new objectives. So, and you can use them with the base game or a combination.
You're not using all 10, though.
Right. Each game, if you're using objectives, you use 3. And every player has the same objective.
Which is kind of cool.
So it's adding more variety to your objectives, and you can add them in whether or not you're playing with expansions. And then the second thing the world one adds are specific meeples and buses and different things where each type has a special power or scoring tweak to it. So for the game, you could play with the robber, the bus, and the bullet train or something like that. And when you put them into your tile grid, they'll do something special. So it adds asymmetry to the tokens that you're putting out.
Cool.
And there's a bunch of different ones, but each game you would choose one for each type, and every player would have that same special one that they can put out.
So you could choose an expansion based on its theme, or you could choose an expansion based on like how different it plays. And I think the Monument expansion is probably the one expansion that is the most different. Is that a word?
I would agree with that.
Most different. So what that is adding is some action points to your turn. And your base, you're sort of getting 3 action points to use. You're getting these monuments that are on the tiles, or well, they're printed on the tiles that if you can move your architect to those
Archaeologist.
Sorry, thank you, not architect. Archaeologist. To those tiles that have the different shaped monuments, you can actually build that monument. Architect sort of makes better sense.
No, they're discovering the monument. They're archaeologists who are unearthing the monument.
I gotcha. So anyway, so you're using action points to move your archaeologist to those different spots. Now, in the game, you have the highways and you have the train routes. Highways take your archaeologists a long time. They have to go from tile to tile along that highway. But the train routes are kind of cool because how they move is from train station to train station. Now, if you can build a train station and then you have a train route that's a little bit longer to another train station, your archaeologists can move with one action point from one station to another station pretty quickly. Last time we played, I didn't build my train stations far enough apart, so my archaeologist was not moving as fast as Melissa's. But.
Yeah, so that was definitely, as Kevin was saying, a different feel to the game because it was adding that new layer of the action points and actually like trying to move around your grid. So I was thinking a little bit more about where am I placing the tiles with the monument symbols on them? Can I get to them? Kevin accidentally built an inaccessible one.
Couldn't get my archaeologist to the other side. I found out pretty quickly you couldn't do that, so I saved it a little bit. So.
Right, because you have to travel along highways and
you can't
trains.
jump roads.
So yeah, that's a very brief kind of look at a lot of the expansions. There's more information online about them and the different nuances that they each bring.
Well, let's move on to our conclusions. So we really didn't talk about the game that these are based off of. Railroad Tiles is based off of Railroad Ink. We mentioned that at the beginning of the video. Railroad Ink is a roll and write game. You definitely have that feel of the routes in the Tiles game. The one nice thing about the roll and write Railroad Ink is that it's a smaller pack game, so you can travel with it. You know it's a little bit easier to go around, harder to bring to game nights, the collector's edition. But I personally like the gameplay of Railroad Tiles maybe a little bit more. I like the tile drafting. I like that you can sort of build your city out. I think I like the Tiles version a little bit better, and I think it plays well at all the different player counts.
Yeah, I'm not very good at drawing, so tiles are probably better for me than the really messy, was that a road or was that a railroad? So in general, I usually enjoy tile laying games because I just like that mechanic. I also like games that have a good amount of variability where you can try different strategies or the puzzle is slightly different each time. And I think Railroad Tiles does that with the objective tiles that you can add in because it's going to be a different assortment each time. And then especially with the expansions. I do think if I only owned the base game, I would probably get a little bored or tired of it after a while because even though you do have the objective tiles, I think I would want a little bit more.
Yep, I'm with you.
So I am very glad that we have the collector's edition, or at least that we have some of the expansions to put those in and kind of have a different experience each time. It's the same core gameplay, but little sprinkles and toppings that kind of spice it up a little bit. So I enjoy that the strategies are a little different based on the combination of objective tiles and which expansion that you're playing with.
I want to know what spicy sprinkles taste like. Maybe sweeten the...
it was a bit of a mixed metaphor. Anyway, back to conclusions. I would say that I would be happy to play Railroad Tiles and suggest it when our group is wanting a short game, something that is relatively light and quick. I think I would definitely suggest Railroad Tiles. I enjoy it.
Yeah, me too. Well, thank you so much for watching today's video. Please like, subscribe, and check out more videos coming from Tantrum House soon.
Design the best network of railways and highways in Railroad Tiles.
And again.
Design the best network... I'm going to have trouble with railways every time.